They say Puerto Rico failed, but let's tell the truth. Puerto Rico didn't fail. It was built to fail, by design, by policy, and by hypocrisy. When the United States invaded Puerto Rico in 1898, they claimed they were liberating us from Spain. But what they brought wasn't freedom. It was control, because under Spain, Puerto Rico already had autonomy, our own parliament, our own currency, our own government. The Carta Autonomica of 1897 had granted self-rule. We were preparing to govern ourselves, and then everything changed. The first strike came with the dollar. The US forced us to abandon the Puerto Rican peso and impose the US dollar, but not at equal value. They devalued our money by 40%. Families lost their savings overnight. Businesses collapsed. That wasn't liberation. That was economic sabotage. Then came the Foraker Act of 1900, which handed all trade, tariffs, and customs revenue to Washington. Puerto Rico could no longer control its own economy. And to make sure we never could, they passed the Jones Act of 1917, forcing every ship that enters or leaves Puerto Rico to be American-built, American-crewed, and American-owned. That law still strangles us today. Decades later, they used Section 936 tax breaks to lure U.S. corporations. Factories popped up, jobs came in, but the profits? They went straight back to the mainland. And when Congress ended those tax breaks in the 1990s, the companies left overnight. Unemployment soared, poverty deepened. Another cycle of dependency complete. By the early 2000s, Puerto Rico was buried under debt, over $70 billion. But here's the truth nobody explains. That number isn't what it seems. When the island's finances collapsed, Washington didn't let Puerto Rico declare bankruptcy. Instead, they imposed PROMESA, a law that created an unelected fiscal control board with power greater than our own government. The board negotiated with Wall Street, slashed our public budgets, and claimed victory by reducing the debt. But at what cost? Under PROMESA, the oversight board says Puerto Rico's debt fell from $70 billion to about $37 billion. They call it progress. They call it stability. But here's what they don't tell you. That reduction came from austerity, from closing schools, cutting universities, shrinking healthcare, and freezing wages. The University of Puerto Rico lost nearly half of its funding. Hundreds of public schools were shut down. Hospitals faced shortages, delayed repairs, and staff cuts. PREPA, the power authority, is still in crisis. The so-called debt reduction came out of the hides of our people. And while classrooms went dark and hospital wards emptied, bondholders were paid first. General obligation bonds, backed by constitutional guarantees, were protected. Hedge funds negotiated sweet deals. Creditors received new bonds. And the people received less of everything. That's not recovery. That's exploitation wrapped in legal paperwork. Now let's talk about hypocrisy. In 2024, the United States gave Argentina, an independent, sovereign nation, nearly $20 billion to stabilize its economy. $20 billion. But where? Puerto Rico, a U.S. territory under its flag, asked for bankruptcy protection and economic relief. Washington said no. Argentina gets compassion. Puerto Rico gets control. A foreign country gets help. A U.S. colony gets a fiscal board. They say we're part of America, but when it's time for fairness, we're treated like property, not people. They took our currency, they took our vote, they took our industries, they took our right to self-govern. And when they were done, they took our dignity and blamed us for the wreckage they created. Puerto Rico didn't fail. Puerto Rico was built to fail, because a colony that prospers doesn't stay a colony for long. But something is changing. A new generation is awake. They see through the lies, they know the truth, that every cut, every law, every broken promise was part of a design. And designs can be undone, brick by brick, law by law, lie by lie. And for those who say that the United States is the best thing that happened to Puerto Rico, remember this day. Thank you for watching. If this story matters to you, Please share it and subscribe for more truths that need to be told. Puerto Rico, open your eyes. See you soon.